This is a mobile radio installation into a Ford XLT F350. These trucks are very similar one to another, the latest generation, and they are very easy to work on. Even mechanics might appreciate the space. And this is an antenna with a modified bracket. Let me pop the hood. This is a Super Duty truck, very spacious. Mechanics would say this is one of the most easy to work on when you have to do some engine work, including brakes and stuff. So it's lots of space when compared to other trucks on the market. And I installed this bracket here. Won't show you much of the detail. I had to modify it a bit. You can get a better custom bracket specifically made for this car, but I did not have one in the car, so I had to make one up, which is nicely molded to around the fender. Usually I install the antenna bracket right here for aesthetics. I'm into arts and I like to make my job look good, and some people make it just functional. In here I have to give you some tips in a couple of seconds. So I run the antenna cable and I had to cut here. I don't know if you can see right here. There is a little nipple in the grommet. I had to cut a little hole with an X-Acto knife, so I have to be careful not to slice anything here. And I use a bit of silicone for lubrication when I pull the cable through that hole, and also when the silicone is going to dry, it's going to seal that. Even it's rubber, I like to overkill a little bit. So coming back to this one, many times I avoid installing the brackets on the fender, and I'll show you why. Sometimes I have to, if I have no way to install it here, sometimes I have to undo the nuts here and shift the hood maybe a millimeter. And if I show you here what's going on, so my cable is free to move around, but in the summertime this is going to expand and this is going to expand, and they are going to close the gap. And with off-road driving, with sun rays, with the temperature, this sheet or the insulation gets damaged and the water is sneaking in, causing corrosion to the ground mesh, and you get poor performance of the antenna because of that. So that's a thing that I want to avoid. And when this one is too tight, I avoid installing the bracket, antenna bracket, completely here. I stay away from this area. I just use this area, and you may say that it's affecting the performance because it's close to the window, and I mean to this part of the car body. But maybe it's like a 5% decrease. The antenna still have some enough clearance, but like I said, I do it for aesthetics in here, and I have a bolt that I can use. But here it's preferred by most people, most installers. But I'm just trying to avoid this area, and if the gap is too small or something, I avoid it. And if it's large enough, but it's still squishing the cable, I just move the hood maybe 1 millimeter by undoing the hinges a bit. So that's kind of a idea in here. And so that cable is going inside of the car, and I'll show you how it's inside. The cable is coming out on top of this harness, and it goes on top. I installed a tie wrap to keep those things together, the rubber, and the cable is going up and ends up here when is joining the power, and then it goes up, it goes to the radio, and the power goes that way towards the fuse panel. I'll show you in a second. Here are the fuse panel. The harness changes to just a power cable, and I'm still using this cover, this split loom, and ends up here through the original fuses. Usually I mark it with a felt pen, which probably I'll do after my recording, and usually I use a big lug for the ground, but for a reason today I did not have one of those, so I just drilled a hole with a smaller lug and I connect it to the ground. The radio harness connect to the ground, which this one is welded to the chassis, and then it goes to a fuse adapter. Now this is fuse number 32, and it's constant power. Usually I install with switch power on fuse number 36, but this customer wanted me to install the radio in their way. They wanted me to install the radio on top of the dashboard, which is their choice, and they wanted constant power, like the radio has to be turned on and off by the driver. And this is the radio fuse, the FM radio fuse, and fuse adapter goes here. And how you identify it, a tip here, how you identify which is the feed, is this side or this side. You just install, in this adapter you just install the radio fuse on top. So that's my 10 amp fuse. Radio takes about 8 up to 9. And if I install the fuse this way, let's say if I don't have a voltmeter on me, if I install the fuse this way, the radio won't work. But if I install it this way, the radio will power up. It's on. And now I identify the correct polarity of the fuse. I just have to install the FM fuse back on the lower side of the adapter and insert the fuse adapter back into its place, and I marked it with a little label, and then I have to put these things back together here, which is easy. Well, you have to insert one here, one here. As you can see, this goes here, this goes here, the other one goes here, and there is one there for the bottom. This one goes here, and the bottom goes where I showed you earlier, right here. And you have to make sure you press that one down. Then you install the door gasket and you press this one down, this trim down, until you feel the popping and there's nothing bulging, nothing showing any bumps. So everything should be set back the way you pulled it out. I've seen people installing a relay onto the circuit. I've done that before, like maybe 14-15 years ago. I used to work for another company that's now defunct because of the way they were doing business, probably, or something. And I was shown how to install a relay in the circuit. So it's very simple, very basic. That's fine. But I never saw the benefit of the relay, except if you have a weird circuit with a timer or something. But most cases, the fuse connected on the same circuit that the, let's say, radio fuse is connected, will never blow the main fuse. So let's say someone is blaring the radio, going all the way to 15 amps of the FM radio, like loading this thing. Then at the same time they are going to transmit, loading the radio fuse, the 2A radio fuse with 9 amps. That's very silly, because nobody is going to have the radio, FM radio, full volume to load the FM radio fuse, let's say the one I showed you, 20 amps, and transmit at the same time. That would be stupid. So nobody does that. Or someone, let's say if you install it on the cigarette lighter adapter, that's another rare occurrence, when someone is using the cigarette lighter, which is very rare these days when people don't smoke like in the past, and transmit at the same time. That would be kind of a case when you blow a fuse. The fuse before that, probably the 40 amp fuse, but I don't think so. I never had an incident to be called back or to be told that the driver blew the fuse. Also, there is a concern that if you remove the antenna, or if you have a bad antenna, some corrosion, some water, you're going to blow the fuse. I haven't had that with ICOM radios. ICOM radios have some sort of a protection, except the amateur radios, which I have one that I blew the PA, the amplifier transistor, twice, because there was no protection on that 60 watt output radio, and I had to learn my lesson. But in the business radio class, there is a protection. Same thing with Motorola's. And yeah, that's one of the reason I'm not installing the relay, and I know the principles behind. I do bench repairs, I do repair radios, and I know what's inside, and I connect the dots. I know this is the way it works, this is why and how, and all that stuff, that the detail behind. So I'll let you go. I was trying to talk longer than necessary to annoy people who are impatient, but this is not a channel for those type of people, and I'm not asking you to subscribe, to like, anything like that. Why? Because I'm not specialized. This channel is not supposed to grow into something to attract people, because this is a channel with philosophic talks, with spirituality, with adventures, flying and stuff. It's all that stuff. And people who are into installation and stuff, they won't find anything. So they have to wait a while until I feel that I want to share radio installation. So talk to you later. Bye bye.